Welcome to the Knowles Development Podcast, an exploration in leadership development. I am Brad Knowles, your host. Now let's dive in. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Knowles Development Podcast. Hope you are well. Hope you had a great week. It's going to be a great week. We're going to keep talking about leadership development because that's what we do here. And today's topic is really going to be about the fact that leadership takes time. I know. It can be challenging. In fact, one of my favorite things that I heard recently was Manish Padrai, who's a great investor, and you can go check him out on YouTube. He's a great follower of Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, and very funny man. And he talks about what are the key skills to be an investor. And one of the things he has shared is that if he was going to prepare somebody to be an investor, he would give them a can of paint and have them paint a wall, and then have them sit on a couch and spend a week watching that paint dry. Because that level of patience is what is required if you're going to be an investor. And I think there are aspects of that apply to leadership. Leadership takes time. And many of us aren't the most patient people in the world. But there's great reward for that patience. And I want to dive into our key areas here by first focusing on kind of a famous quote, if you would. And it basically goes like this. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. So if you want to lead, you have to understand that first and foremost, that isn't going to be a fast journey, but it will have the potential of really going far. So let's look at 5 areas of how we can kind of prepare you mentally for why leadership takes time and the fact that there's benefits to leaning into the patience, to watching the paint dry on the wall, to the fact that leadership's going to take some time. And let's start with our quote. Our quote is, if I want to go fast, go alone. If I want to go far, go with others. Well, remember, the inverse of that is true. And so that's tactic number 1 here. If I want to go far, I have to go with other people. I will never get there on my own, which means I have to slow down. In other words, by default, leadership is going to be a slower process than working entirely by myself. See, when I work by myself, I don't have to worry about, well, geez, did I offend that person? Did they understand what I said? It's all in my own head. I can move as quickly or as slowly as I want to. As soon as I involve just one other person, there's an aspect of initially having to slow down, having to figure out how to dance together. So if you really want to go far in any area of life, that by itself is a choice that you're going to have to involve other people, and it's going to require leadership development, and it's going to take time. Tactic number 2, you must grow. Leadership is going to take time, and part of the thing that's going to take time is none of us are born perfect leaders. In fact, I don't even know if it exists. It's a development process, but we don't develop unless we spend time on it. So you've got to be willing to invest that time and show me where the return is on that exact time invested when you're doing it. It's really hard to see on a profit and loss statement. It's really hard to swipe in and punch in on a particular job and say, what am I doing on that job today? Well, I'm growing as a leader today on that project. It doesn't really happen. It doesn't really work. It's almost the thing you do when you're not working. It takes time. Here's what I find. Most people are spending the time. If you're passionate about leadership development, and I think you already are because you're listening to our little podcast, if you're passionate about leadership development, you're going to take some of your time, your personal time, to continue to work and grow that leadership muscle. And there's no quick return for that. But you know that it's a long-term investment. It's going to help bring other people along with you. Tactic 3, let's dive right into it. Tactic 3 is we have to grow other people. Not only do we have to be committed to our own personal and professional development, but we have to be committed to the personal and professional development of those poor people who are stuck traveling with us. Remember, by default, we said we're not going to go alone. So I'm going to go with other people. And if I'm going to go with other people, I'm going to have to spend time pouring into them. Now, please don't take that as an assumption like you as the leader have all the answers or is somehow some perfected human being or anything like that. It's just more of a conduit thing. Because you're committed to the growth and because you're committed to slowing down and going together because you really want to go far, you also then need to be committed to growing the people around you. And that takes time. It doesn't happen quickly, right? You pour into somebody and you see the fruits of it weeks, months, years later. So we have to have a patience for that. No farmer, catch this, no farmer goes out and plants their seeds today and expects to harvest tomorrow. They know it doesn't work that way. You as a leader must understand that intrinsically, that the fruit of what you do now will show up later. You got to put that work in now, be patient, understand that it takes time, watch that paint dry on a wall, and then you'll see the fruit. Number 4, 2 more to go. Number 4, it takes time in leadership to set the vision. To set the vision of where are we going. We said we wanted to go far. And we set aside the fact that it was going to be fast. We said it's okay if it takes time. But we also then need to know where the heck we're going. And ultimately, that's a responsibility of the leader. And it's not a small decision, right? You're setting the direction of which the whole thing is pointing to. That takes time. It takes time to discern as the leader, is that the right direction? Are you looking around the corner, making sure and confirming, is that going to be the best possible outcome for what we're trying to do? Or are there things we hadn't thought of? All of that kind of stuff, right? All of the forward thinking that leaders are challenged to do, that takes time. I see leaders make the mistake all the time where they get into action too quickly. They don't know where they're trying to get to, but they've gotten really busy. That's not leadership. And that's certainly not the kind of leadership that we're talking about here. You have to take the time to set the course. Okay? Where are you going takes time. Last one. The course to where you're going takes time. And it takes time with your people. Now, as much as we've talked about pouring into others and your personal development and the patience and the setting of the vision, all of that kind of stuff, what we also know as leaders is we don't have all the answers. We don't have all the answers. But we can find the answers. And our people are part of the answer. So we have to take the time. We have to take the time to make sure that we involve and engage the people of the organization, the very people that we've decided that we're going to travel with to this great, big, important thing, because we're going to go far, not fast. Those very same people are going to have key answers to how we should get there, not necessarily where we should go. I put a lot of pressure on the leader for that. Not everybody is given that gift of vision. So if you are one of those people, you have to step up, raise your hand and go, yes, that's me. That's part of what I'm here to do. But everybody that's along for that ride is a part of how we're going to get there. And so we've got to slow down as leaders. We've got to slow down as an organization and make sure that we really understand what is our path. How are we going to get there? Are we getting the input from all of the key players from their perspective? Are you growing enough as a leader that when you have an idea and you have a plan for a path, are you a big enough leader that when somebody shows you all the reasons it shouldn't be that, you're big enough to walk away from your version of the path to take up somebody else's because it's not about you? So let's revisit these just real quick. 5 quick tactics to help us get through the fact that leadership is going to take time. 1, remember that the inverse is true. If I want to go far, I'm not going to go fast, right? So by definition, it's going to take a little while. Number 2, we must grow individually, and that takes time. Just think of the development time you've put in over the last year and how much that has moved your personal leadership lid. Now imagine what time it's going to take to move that twice as much or 3 times as much. It's a real investment of time, okay? Tactic number 3 is our people must grow. We've got to take the time to grow our people. And I promise you, if you're not taking the time to grow yourself, you're not going to do a very good job growing those around you. So those things run hand in hand. And then number 4, we've got to take the time to set the vision. We have to set the vision for the organization, for the group. And then we've got to engage that conversation, right? We've got to work together to decide what is our path. And as a leader, we're helping make an environment where that conversation can really happen. Those perspectives can share. They can clash. It can get messy. We can set our ego aside, and we really can pick the right path. And then once we have it, giddy up. Now we're going. Leadership takes time. Be patient. It's worth it. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.